Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So guys, today we are going to look at something very important you are going to learn a lot from. We are going to look at 6 signs that shows you are heading to financial disaster. There are a lot of things that can show you that you are heading to financial disaster, but most times a lot of us don't really see these things coming. We overlook them, and before you know it, you have entered into this disaster and you won't know how to come out of it. So we are going to look at these red flags, these signs that shows you are heading to financial disaster. Guys, please remember to subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. Like, comment, and share this video. So today we are going to consider these points one after the other. Number one point we are going to look at is when you start spending more than you earn. Yes, once you spend more than you earn, it simply means that you're heading to financial disaster and you need to do something as soon as possible. In this kind of scenario, I have 2 options that you can either take. Number one option is this. You will either look for something better you will be doing, maybe negotiating for a better pay in your place of work, maybe looking for another job that you can combine together with the one you are doing, or another business you can combine with the one you are doing, so that you can be able to earn more money and take care of your bills, so that you will not need to live above your income anymore. So you will need to look for something you will add to what you are doing in order for you to get more money. That's the number one option. Then the number 2 option is this. You will need to cut down on your expenses. All the things that you spend so much money on, you need to cut down on them if you are going to avoid financial disaster. Sometimes you may be living in an apartment that you spend so much on. You can decide to move to a smaller apartment. There is always a little beginning. So I'm not discouraging you from living in a better or in a very good house. No, me, I also like good things. But in your little beginning, you can start little. Then with time, you move to a better house. So even if you are living in a place that you know that you are spending so much in paying for house rent, you can decide to move to a smaller house just to cut down expenses. So you can move to a smaller house. If your children are in a school that where they pay so much money, you can move them to a smaller school that you will not need to spend so much. These are some of the things you may need to consider so that you can cut down on your expenses. The truth remains that 50% of your salary ought to take care of your expenses. But once it has gone beyond that, maybe like 70–80% of your salary are entering into your expenses, it simply means that you need to do something as soon as possible. So you need to go for any of these options. You will either cut down on your expenses by moving into a smaller house, taking your children to a smaller school, reducing all your expenses, or you look for another job or business you can combine to what you're already doing. So with this, you can be able to take care of your expenses at the end of the month, and it won't affect your salary so much. So number 2 thing we are going to consider is when you borrow loan to pay loan. It simply means there is a big problem. When you borrow loan to pay loan, you borrow from A and pay to B, and borrow from C to pay to B. That's ridiculous. It's something that you shouldn't just ignore and see it as a normal way of life. There is nothing wrong with it. No, it's wrong. When you begin to borrow to pay debt, it doesn't look good at all. That is how you continue, because there's no way you can generate that money all of a sudden, except you borrow that money to make an investment. Then you know that it's coming back to you with profits. That's okay. But once you are borrowing money to maybe take care of your expenses, then there is problem. So you can't continue borrowing money to pay loan. You borrow from A, pay to B, you borrow from C, pay to D. No, life does not work that way. It simply means that you're heading to a financial disaster, and a serious one at that, because you will find yourself in a heavy debt that will be so difficult for you to come out from. Do you know that there are two types of debts? There is good debt and there is bad debt. When we are talking about good debt is the loan you borrow and maybe you invest in a business that you know definitely will generate money for you at the end. Maybe you borrow the money for a project, maybe you borrow the money for an investment, for assets. Definitely you know that the money is coming back to you with a lot of profits. So that's a good debt. But a bad debt is the debt that you are getting without investing, without it coming back with income and the rest of them. We call that consumer debt. Yes, once you borrow money that you are not investing, that is not going to generate any money, it's called consumer debt. Maybe you borrowed money to pay for house rent, you borrowed money to pay for school fees, you borrowed money to feed, you borrow money to settle one bill or the other, you borrow money to settle hospital bills. Those are consumer debts. There's no way those things can generate money that you can use and pay back. So it's a consumer debt, and is a very dangerous one you must avoid at all costs. So that is why you need to consider cutting down your expenses, looking for a better job, negotiating for a better pay in your place of work. So you will need to look at these things so that you will not find yourself in a financial disaster. So good debt is okay. You know that definitely it will generate money, enough money that you can help you pay off that debt, and you still have a lot of profit with you. But once it is bad debt, is a very dangerous one, that you will keep on looking for a way to pay back the loan without seeing any. Except you do the necessary things, that's when you'll be able to pay back. But it won't be that easy for you. So consumer debt is a very dangerous one that can lead anybody to financial disaster, and you must avoid it at all costs. So number 3 thing we are going to consider is when you are unable to pay your bills on time. When you find out that you always pay your bills very late, for instance, your landlord will need to be coming every now and then to knock at your door for you to pay house rent. You have a full 1 year to plan towards this, and at the end of that year, you can't boast of your house rent. So your landlord will need to be knocking at your door maybe every day or every weekend to ask you or to remind you of your house rent. Or maybe your children will need to be sent out of school every time they go to school because you have not been able to pay their school fees. It simply means that you're heading to financial disaster. So when you begin to pay your bills very late, when you don't normally pay your bills early enough, it simply means that you're heading to financial disaster. So you must ask yourself, where am I spending my money in? Look at those things that you're spending money on. Look at them very well, thoroughly, and see whether you can cut down on those things. If you can cut down on those things, then you can be able to save. You can be able to take care of your bills. You can be able to take care of the important things that can make you avoid any form of embarrassment. Because once you are not able to meet up with some demands, it may bring a lot of insults to you, and nobody will want to be insulted, especially because of money. So in order to avoid these things, you need to cut down some things. Some things, a lot of things that you know that you spend money on. Just like I mentioned house. You can look at the major things you spend your money on and cut down on those things. And then look for more business or more jobs that you can do so that they can help you to take care of your bills without you delaying in making payments for the necessary things you need to make payment for. And you also need to have a budget and prioritize the major things you need to take care of. Because a lot of us, once your salary comes in, you focus on things that are not that necessary or not that important, and you neglect the important things you need to take care of. And when it is time for you to take care of those things, you begin to, get worried on how to take care of those things when you have already spent money on things that are not necessary. And sometimes when these people are mounting pressure on you, you say, they are giving me pressure. Why are they giving me pressure? Because I've not paid house rent, because my children have not paid school fees. But the truth is that they've given you enough time. You know when you're supposed to pay for these things. So you're supposed to arrange for them before time. Once you are not able to make those payments when you're supposed to make it, it will become an issue and you can easily be insulted for it. Number 14 we are going to consider is when you don't have emergency fund. If you don't have an emergency fund, it simply means that you are heading to a financial disaster. What do I mean by emergency fund? This is a kind of saving that you keep in case of emergency. Anything can come up at any time. At least you have something you can use to defend yourself, to take care of the situation anytime it arises. So if you don't have this fund, if you don't have any savings at all, simply means that you're heading to a financial disaster, and that is very, very dangerous because we can't see tomorrow. Anything can happen at any time. So you need to have some money that is left. The beautiful thing about emergency fund is that whenever anything or emergency comes up, you can be able to settle those things easily because you've already saved money. But if you don't have this emergency fund, it simply means that you're heading to financial disaster, and that is very, very dangerous. So try as much as you can to have an emergency fund in case of anything. In case of unforeseen emergency, you can settle those things easily. So number 5 thing we are going to consider is when thinking about your finances give you so much anxiety and fear for the future. Whenever you think about your finances, you have so much anxiety, you have so much fear for your future. You don't know what the future holds for you. As far as finance is concerned, it simply means that you're heading to financial disaster and you need to do something as soon as possible. Especially when you don't have any investments. You are not even sure whether you have money to get food items for your family the next day. That is a serious one. So it gives you a lot of anxiety and fear. And that shows that there is a big problem. And this is why you don't need to fold your hands. You need to do something as soon as possible. So whenever you have this fear, you think about your future, you say, how will my future be? With the way things are, where am I heading to? Will I be able to take care of my family tomorrow? Will I be able to do things on my own financially with the way things are going? So please try as much as you can to do something now. I know that the situation of the country is very, very hard, but you need to do something. You need to put your hand to work so that you can be earning more money from different avenues to settle your bills. Because the truth is that bills will keep on compiling and compiling and keep on increasing. It doesn't reduce. That's the truth about life. It will keep on increasing and increasing and increasing. So you need to do something about it so that you can be able to take care of these needs with ease. So whenever you think about the future and you have this fear, how it will be, because no investment, no money anywhere, no savings anywhere, no business, no serious business anywhere, the fear alone gives you so much headache. It simply means that you are heading to financial disaster and you shouldn't ignore it at all. You need to rise up and do something as soon as possible. So number 16 we are going to consider is when your financial problem starts affecting your relationships. Once your financial problems have started affecting your relationships, then it simply means that you're heading to financial disaster. Sometimes because you borrowed money from friends and you're not able to pay back, it becomes an issue or a problem between you and them. Sometimes even between you and your spouse, it can bring a lot of problem between you both. You know, one of the things that spices up any marriage is money. Money is very important in marriage. Once there is money, even if you don't have so much of it, at least you can take care of your family. It makes things much easier for the couple. It brings a lot of calmness in a marriage. But once there is no money, there is always tension here and there. So it can affect your relationship. A hungry man is an angry man. When a man does not have money, he becomes angry unnecessarily. Not because he wants to get angry, but because there is no money in his pocket. So he easily gets angry. At any slightest provocation, you see him yelling and shouting at everybody at home. So it will affect your relationship both between you and your spouse, between you and your children, between you and your friends as well. So when things like this begin to happen, it simply means that you're heading to financial disaster and you need to do something about it as soon as possible. So guys, this is where we are ending it for today. Please do remember to subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. Like, comment, and share this video. See you guys on my next video. Bye for now.